Okay, so this is the third piece of content explanation for week one, and this one is on supply chain competence. So we talked about uh, the leaders and the value creation, and we said advanced supply chains have a large advantage in value creation. Uh, and now we're going to define what the leadership is and what defines advanced supply chains. And we're going to do this through a concept of supply chain competency. It's going to be a major theme in the course. The alignment of competency with the strategic desires and the business plan and the market plan of the organization. I'll tell you right off that every organization does not need to survive, does not need an advanced supply chain. Some need higher levels than others. Every organization would profit, would benefit from having advanced supply chains, but all of them are not going to be all of them are not going to be motivated to do the work that it takes to create a advanced supply chain. Unless they really need it. So we're going to identify what the requirements are, as which companies and which strategies, which business plans, market plans really need advanced competencies and which don't. And then we're also going to learn how to create supply chain competencies. So this is an overview of supply chain competency. So we have 4 levels of supply chain competency, and you'll notice over here the amount of value, economic value created by each of the levels goes up as we become more sophisticated, more competent. So level 0 is emerging or basic. It's just a company that just launched and is just getting by its technology or its product competency, but has not yet emerged where it has a supply chain requirement. The next level of competency is functional process control, and I'll explain all these in a minute. Level 2 is enterprise process integration. This is actually the supply chain when we reach level 2. Level 3 is a supply channel collaboration, and then there's a 4th one, which is still in theory now, but it will be coming on stream at some point in the future, is the virtual supply chain. All right, so let's define what these 4 levels of competence are. All right, so going back to the model that we're using for the roadmap for this course, the supply chain operation supply chain value chain model, and this one connotes the different decision levels. Remember, we have 5 execution levels down here. Well, the capability of the organization to perform correctly and to perform with high degree of competence of each one of these independent individual executions is level 1. In other words, the acquisition process is highly competent, the conversion is highly competent, the delivery, the support, and the commit, all are highly competent. It's like having 5 Michael Jordans on your basketball team. But just you can imagine with 5 Michael Jordans, the problem's going to be working together. If you have 5 all-stars or 5 thoroughbreds, but getting the 5 thoroughbreds to pull together in the same direction and to use their strength to create the best output for the enterprise. So level 1 competence is functional process excellence. So we're excellent in each one of the functional areas. It's the capability to schedule and execute individual standalone processes. But as any systems expert will tell you, it is that alone will not guarantee you getting the optimum from your network, the optimum from your system, because what it lacks is the internal trade-offs that would reduce any conflict and cost through coordination of efforts. Using our sports analogy, if you got 5 Michael Jordans but nobody wants to play defense and nobody wants to pass the ball, it doesn't matter if you got 5 all-stars, the team's not going to win. Or a horse example, if the 5 horses are pulling 5 different directions, then it's going to pull the wagon apart rather than pull the wagon fast. It also lacks external linkages. It's doing nothing to do any sort of collaboration or extended enterprise with the organizations around it. And anymore, supply chain, the marketplace is sensitive to the entire effort of the supply chain, the supply channel. It doesn't matter if the breakdown takes place at the retailer, or at the manufacturer, or at the supplier. They're gonna penalize or vote on the entire supply chain. So this is how companies and industries go to the marketplace now, as linkages of supply partners in full supply channels, and we don't have that in this level of competence. So that's level 1. Level 2, we use the detailed operations supply chain management model, the 4A model, to show that showed that the processes have a horizontal flow through the organization that is actually one flow made up of many streams as the value is created, and it flows through the organization. So we see that these are no longer standalone processes. These are now flow through. So what do we get? What do we get from that? We get the capability to schedule and execute all of the individual processes in an optimal manner for internal supply chain competence. So now they're a single flow. No longer is there conflict between the process, the execution process within within one organization. It makes the internal trade-offs. If you had to have one word that describes supply chain, it's trade-offs, because we're looking for how can we possibly de-optimize or sub-optimize one of the processes, but then have that lead to a more optimal total system solution. And that's what the trade-offs are, and that's what the systems approach is. So the internal integration excellence is actually the supply chain. This is the supply chain. But what does it lack? It still lacks the external linkages, which is the all-important linkage between resources all the way through to consumers. So even though this is a very high level, and industries and companies are still striving to reach this level, at level 2, this is called base camp, because level 3, which is the top of the mountain, requires a lot more effort yet to coordinate and collaborate all the external partners to the effort. So our last effort, which is the level 3 competence, is when we have a total supply channel that's linked together. And notice the white spaces between these organizations is fairly wide. What the attempt is, and the goals of companies, is to close these. You can think of these, if these were racing cars and these were a racing team, and the idea was that all 4 cars have to get across the finish line ahead of the other teams, is you'd want them going bumper to bumper and very fast. So that's the essence of what is trying to be created in level 3 supply chains. So what's the benefit? Well, externally collaborated supply chain excellence is capable to schedule not only the internal supply chain processes, but the entire channel as a single flow, from source of materials, raw materials, all the way through to the consumption, and then services after consumption. The only thing it lacks is that this is a great benefit of having these channel partners. Great complexity, but also has great risk. And without automated controls, it requires humans who often can't think fast enough, quite frankly, to be able to run this, where we're going to have our race cars going 100 miles an hour, 1 inch off of each other's bumpers. That's going to take something that is theoretical so far, a theoretical opportunity or competence, but is coming on and probably will be here. It's being tested by companies like IBM and Cisco Systems and others who create the equipment that's going to run this thing. But virtual channel collaboration, which is where we will have all done automatically through shared business rules, will come on eventually. And it's a guess as to when we'll see these. It'll be within your professional life, maybe by 2020. It's what a lot of experts have pointed to. Maybe sooner, maybe later. Depends on the amount of demand and the need for these types of supply chains. So who are the leaders? The leaders are recognized by quite a few different components. This one was done by Michigan State. There's other polls that have top 25 supply chains and so forth. The nice one about this one is they picked one in each industry. So you can look here. We've got some local ones. Here's Apple. That's a local company. Cisco Systems is local. And I'm not seeing HP right here. So we've got a scattering of some of the ones that are recognized. You would probably recognize most of these. Amazon in the entertainment industry. Here's the pharmaceutical industry. So these are looked at. These companies are looked at as ones who have reached level 3 competence. But for the average for most industries is probably sub level 2. It's probably level 1.75, something like that, leading to level 2. It's not easy to reach, as we'll discuss and learn in the course. So again, use the memo. There's another exercise in week 1 called memo discussion, and it prompts a discussion about supply chain competence with by use of two little articles that can be read very easily. So please enter into the discussion there about supply chain competence, your understanding of it, and where you may have seen it in your either professional life or maybe as a customer. All right, that's the end of this mini lecture.